In this video, I want to talk about the first 4 episodes and their random moments. To add some spice to it, at the end of the video, we're going to decide which is the most wildest out the bunch. So stay to the end for the reveal. And if the video get enough love, I might even do a part 2 with the rest of the episodes of the series, because you know I divided them perfectly just in case. Let's start with episode 1. Scott's in a party, doing him, vibing. He notices a familiar face, the girl of his dream or the girl from his dream. That's a little cringy joke they be making up in the show. Not funny, but that's here nor there. But what makes this clip so random to me is Scott doesn't go by the book. He doesn't hit her with a,
"Oh, I never seen you before. Are you new around here?"
None of that. He goes another route, unprecedented route, a route he should never took. Bro gonna ask shorty, a fully grown woman, has she ever watched?
You know Sonic the Hedgehog? You probably know this, but in the early 90s, there were 2 different Sonic cartoons airing at the same time.
Scott still bags in the end, so I guess it all works out. Scott really wants this girl Ramona bad, and we all been there wanting somebody bad. But Scott, he goes a whole nother direction, because he got on his stalkerness. He figures out that Ramona works for Netflix delivering DVDs, and only real ones gonna remember that's that early 2000s junk. Netflix don't do that no more. So he goes home and he orders a movie, waiting for her arrival. Patiently waiting. 4 days.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Yes, sir, brother.
Sonic guy?
I don't know why when I was watching the show, I thought Scott was gonna go about his day and then come back to getting the DVD from Miss Flowers, but nah, that was just weird. The last random moment of episode 1 gotta be Scott fighting the first ex.
"Oh, Eli, what you mean that's a random moment? That's up in a movie."
Well, thank you whoever thought that. But guess what? It's not like the movie, or I'm assuming the book that I never read before. When I tell you I was in disbelief after seeing this, I was in disbelief. Even the narrator was in disbelief. And to add salt to injury, after this fight, we get credits rolling. I've never in my life been baited so hard to hit that next episode button on Netflix by any other show. Episode 2 starts off with all Scott's friends attending his funeral after, you know, we just seen him get
Welcome Punch!
With all aspects considered, everything about this funeral was random. For one, nobody was super sad.
Wallace, how are you?
Well, I always like wearing black. This is as good an excuse as any.
I can't believe he's gone.
It's not a surprise, really. He was always taking on high-level enemies.
Yeah, but he always won.
Nobody wins forever.
The house does.
Hmm?
Like casinos?
What?
2, Scott's coffin didn't even have his body in it.
I'm sorry, Scott.
Out of pocket for that.
3, Knives gets on Ramona's case and people is eating that junk up.
"You."
What are you doing here? You killed Scott Pilgrim! Did you say killed? This is juicy.
Period.
I don't know if that's fair.
Fair? You're responsible. You're the one to blame. It's your fault. This has got to be the most dramatic funeral I've ever been to. It doesn't get more dramatic.
But what makes this scene worthwhile to add to the video, in my opinion, is Scott's ex pulling up, the big one.
Oh my god, the meat writing is crazy. The meat writing is crazy. You're writing the D.
When she pulls into that funeral, everybody makes it her event. It's no longer Scott's funeral. Keep in mind, I'ma reiterate it. I know I just said it twice. I'ma say it again. It's a funeral. And nobody gives a F about Scott no more since Shorty walked up in the door. And to make matters worse, with nothing but audacity and nastiness and wickedness and dirtiness, Evelyn take her musty nuts. Yes, and them nuts are musty. And start talking trash about Scott at his own funeral.
And even though he was the least important chapter of the book of my life, and even though I don't remember much about our relationship at all.
Funky dog head. How dare you try to tarnish my motherfucking homeboy's reputation, punk motherfucker. Respect the family and back off. before we come get you.
But what puts the cherry on top of the situation, the bit decides to have Coachella early.
I will remember you.
1 minute later.
I'm so tired, but I can't sleep. I'm standing on the edge of something.
I really thought Scott dying was a left turn, but this right here, this is just driving off the cliff. And nobody's mad at the fact that she's disrespecting this man's funeral. Nobody is. Another random thing that happened when all the exes had decided to have a meeting about Scott's death. And during this meeting, X1 and X7 decided to start throwing them up. And I'm sitting here watching them throwing them hands, and I'm just like,
Yeah, this is gonna be a regular anime death match, nothing too crazy.
one of them died, one of them's gonna live, and that's gonna be that. But no, a deal got made. If X1 beats X7, X1 is gonna own all of X7's belongings, from his empire to his draws. And I ain't capping, that was actually up in the fine print sometimes. And then if X7 wins the death match, he's just gonna kill X1. So it's kind of a dookie deal, I'm gonna be honest, but you know, X7 had that cockiness. As they really start getting into the fight, X7 was beating the life out of X1. I'm gonna be honest, of course this being a show, they always gotta implement a twist. As the fight started getting to the closing, X1 get this Trunks power up and get the whopping X7. When I say whopping, walking them down, he and this is what makes this random to me, because how do we go from a simple discussion about Scott's death and how his death doesn't result into y'all pulling Ramona instantly with no durr, like no durr, to the other point, the meeting turns into a whole new chain of leadership. Talking about Scott's death, whole new leader, random. To start episode 3, it was random off the bat, with Young Neil being the focus, which he usually never is the focus. Young Neil decides that he want to make some movie, which was very funny to me, because if y'all watch the show and stuff, y'all know Young Neil got the IQ of a baby kangaroo. But where this scene gets really weird is when Young Neil begins to write his screenplay and falls asleep. But while Young Neil was knocked out, he, gradually wakes up to seeing somebody typing on his computer. This interesting creature first reaction when he fully wakes up in the morning isn't, no, we're gonna play a game. Is it A, he calls the police, B, he tries to figure out anything about what happened last night, or C, he bathes in the fact that his screenplay is finished? Y'all got 10 seconds to figure this out. The correct answer was C. Bro just seen that the screenplay was done, and he knows. He fell asleep. You know you didn't type that, and you know you seen something last night. And he takes the credit, and he's just a happy-go-lucky boy. The next moment I'm finna talk about is actually pretty wholesome. Knives, Kim, and Steven are all sitting there chilling. They talking about the state of the band, because
Falcon Punch!
So during the conversation, Kim just asks Knives, do she want to play something just to mess around, not to even take anything serious about it, for the funsies. So in my head, when shows do little stuff like this, I'm already knowing it's finna be a coin flip. Knives is finna kill this junk, it's finna sound phenomenal, or it's gonna sound unbelievably trash. It's no either or, it's one of the two. So they start playing, and here's the results. And the most craziest thing about this clip to me, Knives was just reading how to play bass not even like 10 seconds ago. She couldn't even use the guitar pick, and then she becomes the next Jimi Hendrix in 10 seconds time. Like how, bro? How? At the end of episode 3, we get a little surprise. We see X7 after, his downfall, after he got Young Lump, after he was on World Star TV, we see him. X7 had a history that was unknown to the viewers before he became the X7 we know. Julia Powers and him were classmates back in the day, and the real name isn't actually
Gideon Graves. It wasn't my birth name. It was an identity I created. Back in the day, you knew me by another name.
Huh.
Gordon? Gordon Goose from North Bay, Ontario?
I can't believe his junk was Gordon Goose. That name is beyond crazy. I see why he switched it to Gideon Graves. It rolls off the tongue way more better, and it sounds like you're gonna have a way less chance of getting a kick me sign on your back, because Gordon Goose is, no. The 4th episode in itself was just a fever dream. From Young Neil's quote-unquote movie being created, which I don't know who provided him with the budget for this movie, because he had the movie studio or whatever, he had that whole thing to himself out there. And then also the funny part about it, the movie that was his, that got created, was a one-of-one of the actual Scott Pilgrim live action movie, which was just funny to me because they had all the side characters pretty much playing as the Scott Pilgrim movie character. And speaking of the movie characters, they had some straight guy playing Wallace. And if you know Scott Pilgrim, Wallace is far from straight. So when they had put this dude on the screen, I'm already grinning.
Damn, girl. What are you doing later?
Are you hitting on me?
Maybe I am, and maybe I am.
Ugh, gross.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah.
And as y'all just seen, that straight Wallace was fiending hard. Time for what we all been waiting for. The results are in. Bang on something if you got something to bang on. I chose the funeral scene.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
To the fact that Scott was actually KO'd, to the nerve of nobody really caring. Then you have Evelyn pulling up and having Rolling Loud early. It was just a complete opposite of what a funeral was supposed to be. So I had to put it as the most random moment up in the entire video. But if y'all want to see a part 2 to this, you know, show the video some love. Simple as that. Comments, all that good stuff. Y'all know what to do. It's been your boy, Eli. Have a blessed remainder of your day. I'm out of this mug. Peace. Coffin didn't even have his body in it. Like, where do they do that at? Funeral with no body. Well, that's actually a thing. Forgive my insolence.